Order at
License and then public house.
we need to time that first. 4:42.
4:42?
Second.
Are we in order?
Yes?
Yep, she just called it.
Well, technically, we didn't vote on it, but
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
I'll vote. Here.
Thank you.
Ready and raring.
We have some clarifications, modifications in the issues that we still have to resolve. If you'd like to start. Unless you want to just agree with a lot of things which would bother you.
We probably should have you list them out.
All right. Let me just run through the list. We talked about the school district's proposal to have all the supervisory union employees, or all the paras employed by the supervisory union. I think we agreed that we had no objection to that, and that the district could easily do that by just laying off people employed by the different towns and rehiring them with the supervisory union. I'm sure there's a different way we can do it, but that seemed to be the simplest one. If you have a different idea, we can certainly entertain that. In the proposal we made on that originally dealt with student assault, after our discussion last week, we would agree to change. The proposal is essentially the same, but remove the word assault where it appears and include either injury or physical contact
Actually,
or both. What's that?
Both of you were going to
Yep.
include.
And instead of using the word injury, just describe it that way. Our proposal on the problems with head lice, after our discussion, we're willing to delete our proposal to grant days off without having them count as sick leave, and reduce our proposal simply to school district reimbursement for the cost of treatment for an employee who contacts head lice, and the treatment cost would be up to $50 a treatment, but not to exceed that. And we would remove the other proposals that we'd made on that issue. We'd made a proposal for the payment of unused sick leave. If someone had sick leave on the books at the end of the year, they'd fully accumulated the amount allowed by the contract. We decided that that's not a high priority, and we're going to withdraw that proposal. So that's no longer an issue we need to deal with. The association made a proposal to add aunts and uncles, nieces and nephews to bereavement leave. After our discussion last time, we agreed or proposed that we would be willing to accept the language that's found in the teacher contract, which leaves taking time off for those relatives at the discretion of the superintendent. And if the board agrees, we would simply adopt that language currently in the teacher's contract and resolve that issue. We made a proposal for dental insurance coverage. We realized this isn't the right time, it's much too expensive a proposal, and we withdraw that proposal. Long-term disability, we made a proposal that we be included under the insurance that covers the teachers. It's my understanding that that's relatively inexpensive coverage, but we think is important, especially since we have the possibility and somewhat of a history of people being injured on the job. So we continue that proposal. We propose that we have language in the contract that would allow domestic partner coverage at the employee's expense, and we would continue that proposal. We propose that there be an increase in severance pay.
Norman, can I just get a clarification on last? When you're saying domestic partner coverage,
Yeah,
do you mean male and female couples, or do you mean same-sex couples who have the alternative of getting married?
Both have the
It
alternative.
would be male
Yeah,
and,
sure, they both have the alternative
no, it would be male and female. We already have the coverage of,
for the married couples.
For civil.
for the same-sex partner, we already have that coverage.
Okay.
But it would be a male and female that are not married,
So a boyfriend, a girlfriend, something like that.
basically, yeah.
Okay.
But there would be stipulations, well, I don't mean to interrupt you.
sorry.
But there would be, there is some stipulations that I believe is set forth by the state for the domestic partner. You know, and we would, the domestic partner would have to meet all that criteria before they would be, you know, eligible for the, that coverage.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's basically the proposal, is that it be allowable provided the couple met the test, which I know includes having finances held jointly, possibly having joint property, but so that it's not just a scam to come under group health insurance, but is a legitimate domestic partner. We proposed increasing severance pay from $30 to $35 per sick day at retirement. But after some discussion, we'd like to make a different offer, and that is to leave the number of dollars at 30, but change the number of years eligible, to be eligible. It currently is at 20 years? 15 years.
15.
We're proposing that it be available to an employee who retires after 10 years.
Can I just say something about that?
Why don't you?
Okay. The reason why we decided, we discussed about changing that part is, what's happening is we're kind of going through a phase right now where we're having a lot of people retire, and it's a lot of, I should say, older folks that are retiring, but they've only been with the system for 10, 12, 13 years. So what they're doing is it's creating a absentee thing where the people say, well, we're not going to get paid for it, so they're taking a sick day off a week or 2 sick days off a week, you know, to compensate that. So it would be actually beneficial to reduce that, and where you're going to save money at that end. And I'm not saying that they're still not going to, a few of them are still not going to take their time off, but it would definitely reduce the tardiness because of that reason.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Overtime, Lauren, did you mention overtime?
Let's see, we also have been discussing during this negotiations the overtime issue. Our proposal is still to have overtime after the employee's regularly scheduled hours, which is the provision we had historically. It's been changed and was changed at one point, then we changed it back. We want that to continue as it has been in previous contracts. We made a proposal that an employee who takes over temporarily a supervisor's job be paid for that change in assignment. The current contract says that they would be paid after 7 days. We realize that it would be, probably would be a nightmare to try to make that payable for any time, but we think that a number of days less than 7 would be appropriate. Don't jump at 6, but something like after a full day, or after 24 hours, or after a day, a full day, or a major fraction. Then if the employee continues to substitute in that position, he or she would get the higher rate of pay for the rest of the time they were assigned. What what I understand begins to happen under the current practice is if there's a need to temporarily assign an employee to a supervisor's job, nobody particularly wants to do it. It's additional responsibility, not necessarily additional work, but additional responsibility with no compensation. And so most people are happier to keep the job they have. But so we think that's something that might have mutual advantage, not only to our own member, but to the school district.
So Norm, can we ask for clarification?
Yeah.
Or an example of that? Because part of the contract, if you look at Article 11.8, talks about if deals with the issue of, say, if a paraeducator is supposed to be winds up covering for a teacher, there's an hourly increase of $2 an hour that happens there. So in terms of, I don't think we're aware of any.
No, when you say supervisor.
Right, I think that's the term that
Are
also
you
got
talking
me.
about a para
Yeah.
stepping up for intensive
Oh,
needs? That's not a
But we
supervisor.
have had paras cover for a foreman before at Pownell. We have had a para literally cover, like when Rich was out for a vacation and they couldn't get sub in for him. There was a para that
So
did
it's
the
a
work for
custodial issue?
a custodian. It's usually basically custodian. Or you may have in Tim's department, again, their supervisor leaves, someone takes over and does their job, and they're doing it for their rate instead of the supervisor's
Well, we
rate.
also have, I can give you an example. We have, our lit lab teacher is out.
She said 11.2.
Our librarian is also certified lit lab. She's covering, she is going to be covering for her. And our library clerk is gonna have to run the library. Well, that would be an example of she should be able to get that higher rate of pay.
But that should fall under 11.8, because the librarian's under the teacher contract. So if she's filling in for the
And a li-
teacher.
She should be getting the
She should
2
be
hours,
getting
$2 an hour under
You're not gonna
11.8.
you're not gonna get somebody to do that for a long period of time for $2 more an hour. To be
So
honest.
here's.
Because
here's
she has to
one-
do everything the librarian does, plus everything that the clerk has to do.
So,
So that's a little bit of an insult, honestly.
well, here's what I would ask. So one is, the example that was given to me as a potential was something where actually a license would prohibit the person who's in your bargaining unit from actually doing the job of the individual who's in the other bargaining unit. In the library position, there isn't that issue, and there is the $2 an hour. So the moment that she steps into filling in for the librarian is the moment when she starts getting paid, and I'm assuming, I'm saying she or he is getting paid $2 an hour more. So there are some where it's precluded because you're not going to be in fact doing the job description or the job duties of the other position, the full
So
job
who's gonna
duties
do
of
her
it.
position?
It's, that's an issue, I think that's a different issue of that. I think that's a different issue of whether or not there are substitutes, whether or not there are people who are backfilling positions from the,
Whether they need to.
and whether they also in fact need to backfill positions regarding that as well. And so there are certain things that when you use the term supervisor, and I think this is why Ed keyed off on it, there are some positions that there's actually paperwork that needs to be done. The individuals who are filling in are not doing what that paperwork is and are not in fact doing the job duties, the complete job duties of the position. The Article 20 that you're talking about talks about stepping in and doing the full job. The Article 11.8 is the one that it's set for just doing the sort of the stepping in
For subbing for somebody.
sort of issue, right?
Right.
So,
But if you have a person that is actually has to step in and do the physical job, including inventory at the end of the year, recataloging, we're changing systems, she's gonna have to do all the data entry. She has to run her advisory, she has to run a couple library
Is she
classes that
doing
she
it for
has.
more than 7 days or no?
She's out for the rest of the year, so she'll be up there the rest of the year.
So then she would, under 20.8, she'd be covered for all of the days, but the payment wouldn't kick in until the 7th day, is that correct?
Right.
So we have a librarian that's out for the rest of the year.
She's covering for the Lit Lab. The librarian was pulled to
Okay.
cover Lit Lab.
So the contract says if somebody is covering for that position for more than 7 workdays, they'll be paid.
So she would be getting paid. In other words, but it's not that, it's not that she only gets paid from 7 days to 14 days. She should be getting paid at the 7th day from
To the end.
day 1 to, right? It is how you're paying it out.
$2 an hour more the first 6 days. And then starting on day 7, or starting for the first 7 work days, and then starting on day 8 would receive the full rate.
That's how you're breaking it out.
But maintenance isn't getting that.
But that's the, I mean, the one issue that we run in the maintenance department is, you know, you take the foreman, or the foreman is going to be out, which in my case she has, and the same thing at the high school. The foreman's been out there before, and we don't have too much of a problem at the middle school, but we do have a problem at the high school. What the problem is nobody wants to take over that responsibility. And I'm sure, and that's where the problem is, the 10 days. Everybody said, why should we have the responsibility of a foreman's position, taking sure to make sure that all the assemblies are set up for, and supplies are requested and ordered, and all these responsibilities for 10 days and not getting reimbursed for it.
So that one's also confusing to me, because you have a director of,
Outside of 11.
And that's, you know, that's the
director
big,
of maintenance.
that is the
Right,
the
that
big,
makes
big
the
issue.
20th again.
Yeah, see, 11.8 actually doesn't cover maintenance because it's not a teacher.
Who's good at maintenance? That's the way I don't understand.
that sounds like an internal management problem. Because you do have a director of maintenance who should be picking up the reins and carrying the load of a foreman that's out for the
Yeah.
But
time that he's
Doesn't
out. He
happen that way.
Nobody should be assigned to do that work
But,
when you
but,
have a director of maintenance.
but speaking in the director, I mean, Paul right now is, I mean, sometimes we see him once or twice at the middle school a day, sometimes we don't see him because unfortunately, the high school building takes a lot more care than the middle school does, and it takes a lot of his time, and honestly, truly, he relies on his foremans, or not even the foremans, even the maintenance people, you know, that take care of the maintenance of buildings. It's not just the foreman's position where that happens, and, you know, that's,
So I think that's,
So the only thing I would add in 20.5, employees may be required to fill in for positions not to exceed 10 days,
I'm sorry, yeah, there's 20.
which is, I was trying to figure out the conflict between that and being paid, a para being paid substitutes for a teacher, but this is a position under 20.5 when an employee of a board may be required to fill in. But then the change in pay, if it's greater, doesn't take place till after 7 days. We just think it should be not immediate, but not 7 days, not a weekend, you know, full week and more after that. If somebody's assigned, then they should pick up that pay maybe after the first day. I mean, if it was for a short period of time, it was for half a day, I think it's crazy to try to get into pay differentials for that short period of time. I'm sure when the parties negotiated before, they thought 7 was good. But now I think under revised thinking, we believe that less than 7, something more in the area of a full day, or if the pay was adjusted then, would be a fairer situation for the employee.
So is that the request, that it goes down to 1 day?
What's that?
Is your recommendation it
yes.
goes down to 1 day?
Yeah, I think we said at first that it would happen immediately, but that, upon reflection, that seems to be too short a period. And I don't think we're wedded to 1 day, but 7 days, more than a full week of doing that job would seem to be going too far, too long before we recognize the extra responsibility and work.
Thank you for the clarification.
The other issue that other than that, we had health insurance and wages that are unresolved. After some discussion with the association's negotiating team, I came up with a proposal that I've got to put out on a spreadsheet for the board to look at. Did you have those down? This is based on, I think, on our feeling and our belief that with the employees in this bargaining unit, where the lowest, I just looked through the lowest starting hourly rates in each of the job categories. The lowest rate that an employee starts at this year is $12.44 an hour. If that was on a school year basis, that would be an annual earning of about $17,700. If that was a full year or 2,080 hours, that'd be about a $25,000 payment. And then in the administrative category, the lowest hourly rate is $13.34. In the education categories, $12.95 for both the education employee in the tech center and also for the rest of the district. Our thought is that yes,
We had that 1-year agreement this last year.
yeah,
And those
okay,
rates have changed.
that's right, and I don't have them, so so I'm guessing.
We-
So as we adjusted those, we're up by 3%?
It's 1361 is the lowest
Okay.
for admin. The educational is 1321.
I should have that somewhere.
He's
but I
talking about
don't seem to.
pay scale. He's talking about.
Maybe I'll ask you and you can send me a copy of it.
So, okay, so if I'm looking at this, Norm, your second bullet, SVSU School Staff Association, what you're saying is that you're talking about the employee paying $879.13 a year? Is that what you're proposing, and the board is?
Well, what we're proposing is using the gold CDHP plan, which has the lowest premium rates, that the school district pay not 90% of the premium and 100% of the out-of-pocket costs, and using a health reimbursement account. And based on the estimates that we've gotten, is that for the board to cover the out-of-pocket expenses, which could be up to $5,000 in a health reimbursement account, because they would be expected to only have to pay about 60% or less of those expenses, that there would still be a fairly good savings to the school district under that kind of a plan. The biggest issue we're looking at is trying to make sure, as under the gold CDHP plan, the first thing people face every January is a $3,500 deductible if there's no offsetting payment by the school district. That would be unapproachable for most of our workers. And VHI, I think maybe the federal government has put in these high deductible plans because they think it'll reduce the cost of health insurance. But it seems to operate against the general premise that people should go to the doctors when they're sick, so they don't get sicker. And so what we're looking at least to give the board an idea of what we're thinking, is that the employees can more easily pay a regular premium amount because it's deducted out of each paycheck than to pay a large deductible or out-of-pocket expense the first of every January. So that's the purpose of our proposal, and I put these numbers in just to demonstrate with that type of a proposal that the district on each employee would still see a fairly substantial savings. I calculate up to $1,800 a year for a family. And most of our employees are not. Most of our employees are single. Most of the paraeducators, I believe. And some of it would depend a little bit on the HRA, or the health reimbursement account payment. But as you know, money that you agree to cover out-of-pocket expenses, if it's not spent, is retained by the district. It's not given to the employee. So we're looking at trying to maximize coverage for employees and not use, the other vehicle is to use a health savings account, which some people would try to use as a way to try to gain additional income. But with the HRA, we think that that's designed to try to improve coverage, much like a secondary insurance would.
So Norm, if I look at this and where you've highlighted, and I'll just cut to the chase on the employee savings, where you have it 636.10.
Yeah.
That actually, in fact, if you consider how VHI looks at this, and this, maybe you've accounted for this, is that currently VHI says that an employee out-of-pocket average is about $400. So you have no out-of-pocket for the employee because you're asking that the board covers 100% of the out-of-pocket. So if I add the $400 that employees currently are expected under VHI's plans to pay, the true employee savings is actually over $1,000 for employees. You understand what I'm saying? It's $1,036 if you use what the
If they have no out-of-pocket costs.
Because they're not paying, you're assessing 100% of the out-of-pocket costs in your proposal to the
Right.
board. So the $400 that VHI and the board's proposal took in as for right now, in the 86-14 split, and $400 out-of-pocket average for an employee, because there are co-pays under VHI's. So in essence, what you're saying is employees who currently are paying $1,664.05 are going to be saving over $1,000 under what your plan is, and the board will be saving $613 because the premium prices are down, but the board is going to be paying about $8,000 out. Is that correct, if I'm looking at this?
Right.
Okay.
Right, the savings are I guess the basic savings is the plan is substantially less. I look at an annual cost of $23,000 for the Vermont health plan that we have, and $17,000, so there's a huge difference there. But conceptually, what we're looking at is trying to make sure that our people are not put in a position where they self-ration their health care, or they're put in a financial bind with an out-of-pocket deductible. We think that if we have a choice, that we would rather see, people are more, it's easier to pay the premium every month and have it payroll deducted than to write the check or checks in January when the deductibles renew themselves.
Right,
But wait, now you said $400 is that on a family or a?
That's on a subscriber-only plan. So
Okay.
So currently, annually, the board pays $7,764.87. The employee pays $1,264.05. What you're talking about is the board then picking up and going to over $8,000 a year, and the employee paying $627 on a single plan.
Let's see, it still comes out, as a total, it still comes out less, but I didn't factor in that, the current out-of-pocket cost, which
Right,
might be an
Okay, so-
interesting
Okay,
calculation.
so I just want to make it clear, because there's a recognition that what you're asking for is that basically the savings all go to the employees, and that the board is going to absorb any increase here, because if the board is paying $7,700 roughly for an annual plan right now, you're asking the board to increase, based upon your numbers, to about over $8,000, and that the employee would go down about 50% in terms of what they're paying out.
Well, all we were looking at is whether or not, beginning with what the board is paying, that it's not, we're not proposing that it pay more than it was paying before. So I think there's, and I'm more than willing to try to put in the current out-of-pocket cost, but to look at the idea that there is certainly a savings for both parties. Certainly, I understand the issue that, the boards pay 80-something% of the cost.
Okay.
They certainly can argue that they should be entitled to 80% of the savings, but, and that's not unreal, but, I mean, in looking at this particular bargaining unit, we're trying to make sure, from our point of view, that the coverage is affordable and accessible.
And so with this, are you sticking with your original wage proposal, I guess?
For the moment, obviously, we see those as closely aligned, and I think as we talk a little bit about health insurance, we'll get a better sense of what our wage proposal should be.
Can I ask again, why, if the school is funding either an HRA or an HSA, so people are gonna get the same amount of money from us. Under the HRA plan, that money stays with the school, and at the end of the years, it's zeroed out. Under the HSA plan, if somebody only uses $500, they keep the rest of that money under the HRA, and it just rolls over every year.
Right.
So they could potentially build up a large account that they could use later in life. Why is the resistance to that?
Good.
Why wouldn't they want more money?
Well, I think what we're thinking, or what I guess our approach, is that the HRA is more like a secondary insurance, and we could expect the board to cover more, because like any insurance, you don't expect to pay it all. Like if we came in and said to the board, we'd like you to pay 100% of the out-of-pocket cost by a health savings account, then that would be $5,000, well, on a family, but whatever the appropriate amount is just gone out the door. This way, we know that in the average Vermont school district, and this fits the mold pretty well, 8% of the people who have insurance don't file a claim. So the cost for those people simply stays, we pay premiums, but there is no out-of-pocket cost because they don't file a claim, so that's all district money. And my thought, and I haven't seen this happen yet, I've had two districts that said we want both. We want to have an HRA or an HSA. And my speculation has been that boards would not offer the same amount for both. Like they wouldn't offer $3,000 in an HSA and $3,000 in an HRA, because they know they're going to spend the health savings account money. The HRA money, they expect to spend 50% of that. So, although there's a gamble, but we gamble on tuition reimbursement. Those are things that are never solid in a budget, and I guess that's the way I see it. But there are people who think, and we have people in our negotiating teams that think an HSA, and we have people on negotiating teams that fit that group that never have health coverage.
Yes.
I had a couple of teachers who said, well, I never go to the doctor. An HSA is fine for them because they'll just pocket the money.
Right.
But for a lot of, but we have to bargain for the people who are gonna use healthcare. And, and try to, I guess from our point of view, is maximize the amount they get covered.
But we even talked about what we would put into the various accounts, and you're just
Yeah.
making an assumption that we would try to cut back on the HSA.
Well, I'm not suggesting cut back, but, there's a realistic number, I think, that, I mean, we're more than willing to talk about it, but we.
I'm just wondering, because
Yeah.
I would prefer to somebody to give me money, if I don't use it, I keep it, and it rolls to next year, and it just keeps rolling,
Yeah.
versus I have a pool of money, if I don't spend it, it goes away.
Yeah.
And my health care pattern isn't gonna change because I'm on an HSA,
Yeah.
I need the health care.
Well, apparently.
That's the only thing I'm.
Yeah, and a discussion I had with one of the school board attorneys, he said that VHI was pushing the health savings account because they thought if they paid the money, then people would be more resistant of using it and not go to the doctor and therefore save the company money. I'm not particularly concerned about saving the insurance company money, but I also don't want to create a situation where people don't go to the doctors if they're sick, because as we, we know that what we fear is that they get really sick and then they end up in the emergency room or something like that.
But I'd rather have the HSA, because if I don't use all the amount, whatever we put in.
Yeah.
If I don't use it up, and 2 years down the road, I have an issue where I really need the extra money, I'm gonna pay a lot more co-pays or whatever it happens to be, it's there. Because it rolls over. And when you retire, anybody that's getting older, you can use that in your retirement.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
And I have another question. What is your wage proposal, your original wage
Our
proposal?
original wage proposal was,
3.5,
what was it?
3.5.
3.5% plus step.
Is that for 1 year, we're talking 2 or 3 year?
That was
I
the
don't know.
first year. and
First year.
I'm not sure
We did propose for the 3
I'm
years.
not
Okay,
sure
all right. I
have
just
we
tried to
come to
update
any
myself.
agreement on the length of the
Okay.
contract?
No.
I know, that's another thing, that there's just no consistency. I've got some districts that are negotiating 3-year contracts and others where their boards are saying, this is so uncertain, not just the health insurance plans we started with, but now with the legislature playing around with health insurance and budgets, that they're moving more towards a 1-year contract. I would hope we come back to the day when we look at more than 1-year contracts.
The last time I looked at the federal regulations on an HSA and HRA, you couldn't have an 80/20 medical insurance program where you were eligible for that. You had to have a high deductible plan
These
where
are
you
high
would pay.
deductible.
Yeah, well, the HRAs, as I understand, are available on all 4 of the VHI plans, but the HSAs, where you get the money, are only available on the 2 the gold and silver high deductible plans. So I think you're right. And we've run into a problem with that in the district where they talk about an HSA, because then they have to come up, because the insurance company also says you have to offer all 4 plans.
Yeah.
So we've had to come up with some kind of alternative for how do you deal with an HSA with the plans that will allow it. And so they go through, I think the one I know of is the district puts money into a health, flexible spending account, a 125 plan, FSA.
Yeah.
Do you guys
Yeah,
have
and of course, a lot of the plans, I think, work with both, well, I know our plan with the Teachers Association deals with an HRA and an FSA. We put the money in the FSA. The association puts money in an HRA, and then it works off of, there's an administrator that kind of sorts all that out. We're not smart enough to figure out what pays for what, but it works pretty well.
Can I jump back to one other thing? On the overtime proposal,
Yes.
we have paras who work 6 hours, 6.5 hours, 7-hour schedules. So somebody who works a 6-hour schedule is gonna hit their overtime pay 5 hours earlier than somebody who works 7. hours a week. And
They're
that's
fine with that.
Yeah.
okay?
They're fine with that.
Well, I think that the history is that that's the way, somewhere historically, when we were just children, somebody negotiated that into the contract. And so, and I think the only people it applies to are paras, and it doesn't apply very often because all our maintenance and custodial workers are 40 hours a week, so their overtime rate is by law 40 hours. But we have some, you're right, exactly, with paras, we have these different rates. And I don't think we have a lot of para overtime, but there are field trips and stuff like that that will work in every once in a while. And I think historically, it was that you got paid overtime over your scheduled daily number of hours, right?
Regular schedule hours.
Dottie's the expert on this, because she's been negotiating for a couple of years. Is there anything you can add to that?
No.
I got it pretty near right? Okay. Yeah, so part of it is that that's the way it evolved historically. But I wouldn't argue with you that, you know, the federal rate, the federal overtime requirement is 40 hours a week. And basically that is the only requirement that I'm aware of for overtime. Anyway, that's a rundown of some changes we made, and I hope you will look at health insurance and wages. We look at it as kind of the economic part of the contract, and it works together. They're too big expenses to try to consider them separately. And also with health insurance, what we're looking for is trying to make sure that we minimize out-of-pocket and out-of-pocket expenses and deductibles so that people really don't have good access to their health care. And now, I think under the current plans, people have had pretty good access to the out-of-pocket expenses. I mean, when you say to somebody, what's your out-of-pocket expenses under the Vermont Health Plan, most people don't know because they don't come in in a lump sum. They come in at $10 here and $4 there and something, and obviously they add up. So anyway, if you have any questions, but
No, we're gonna have to move into caucus on this.
Do you want me to answer the ones that I can on this one
Yes.
first? Okay, so going back to your list, the ones that can be answered, because you did modify some of your provisions.
Okay.
From the student assault, as the board has pointed out, the board feels that is, employees have that covered, either through policy or already through existing law.
what was that, Gina?
The one that you entitled student assault, so there's no agreement on that.
All right.
The same with the proposal regarding the head lice. There's currently, I guess, there's a policy issue, a policy that covers it. We understand that you've modified it for the treatment issue, unless there was a modification, so I don't know if you all want to stick, but at this point, the board is saying that they feel that is handled appropriately through policy. They'll have to talk about the language about the superintendent's discretion on the it's bereavement leave, I believe,
Okay.
since you changed
Yes,
that.
that would be helpful if you
Right,
can
we
give us
wanted
an
to
answer.
point out, you had asked for initially brothers-in-law and sisters-in-law, and your contract
Yeah.
actually covers them under the language, but that wasn't something that you just listed out.
Yeah,
The long-term disability, we are still interested in the proposal we talked about from the board's perspective of dealing with amounts of sick days and then seeing if we can't then have employees shift off to long-term disability. So that's something that bears to have further discussion about it.
okay.
You modified the severance pay proposal. And so I think we still need to talk about that and the overtime and the taking over the temp one. We needed the clarification, so we'll still talk about those as well, along with your health insurance wage proposal as well, since we are looking at both of them, both of those two
Okay.
together. I don't necessarily think that you're going to be able to get out of caucus to have answers to all of these at all. I think you have a lot to talk about. Does that sound correct? So I think we
Need set meetings.
we need to set meetings, apparently. So if we can do that, that would be great.
It's every 2 weeks, and the next one would be June 6th.
You gotta be careful how you schedule me, women.
As long as,
'Cause I got-
Do we have another meeting scheduled?
We don't have another meeting scheduled now.
We don't have another one scheduled. I'm fine now, shall we? Can we not do it? That's not really a good, no?
the 13th?
Sure.
13's not good for me.
I'm going to be
I can't do
away
that.
until the week of the 19th of June, and then I'll be around for,
The 20th?
Can you do the 20th?
let's see,
I'm coming back that day.
20th is okay for me.
Okay, but you can
How about other people?
Let's do a marathon session. Let's get it done.
Is the,
I'm
school is out at that point?
No.
It's the last day for the students.
Is that,
That day.
school's
For our
still in
students.
It
session?
is for BSD.
Yeah,
So last
yeah,
day.
it's 20.
They're out.
That's why, yeah.
day.
We're there into
You
the
are.
23rd.
We have 3
Do you want
full
to wait
days
and do it later
of-
and then
I don't know what.
do a marathon?
I had to do a marathon, you done the
It's up,
20th.
guys, do input.
What's that?
I'd do it,
You can't do it.
My
'cause you're in
problem is
school,
it's the
right?
week of the 6th.
well, I mean, if,
I
Yeah, well,
have
they can't,
issues.
they can't start at noon.
Okay.
They're all
I'm
working.
fine on the 13th, but
How
they're,
about
What
the
day is it?
Can't do the
22nd?
13th.
Please, what day is the
Pardon?
great celebration?
About the 22nd?
It's good for
I
me.
can do
I
the
think that's the
22nd.
20th.
It's a Thursday.
These are what?
The celebration at school at night. So,
and when is Pownell's graduation?
The 19th.
Okay, so we're safe with that.
Unfortunately, I think schedule-wise, that's going to be somewhat difficult to do either between Norm's schedule and my schedule. My June is either booked out or I have that one time frame when I can't do it.
What about the 22nd?
The 22nd, I can absolutely do it, and I've been known to come down here at 8:30 in the morning, I'm not going to lie.
What time you want to start?
Wait, what is it?
22nd.
Can you not do-
Second?
Yeah, it's a
22nd. The
Well,
22nd.
June
still have
22nd.
to
June
Would we be
22nd.
excused because I
Still
think
be at work.
we're supposed to be doing
In-services.
in-services. Would we be excused
What's the
from
topic
those
of it?
in-services?
So, is that a half day?
No, that's
Those
all
are
right.
full days.
We have 3 full days.
For-
of the
We
students
have 3 full
gone.
days
What's the
to the
topic of
23rd.
in-service?
Yeah, but you get out at 3.
Right.
All right, but
Now,
she
what if
was
we
saying
start
here from
early?
9.
Oh, no, I was
If
just,
we started early and
Are you
just went
attending or
right straight
instructing,
through,
Meredith?
get this done.
You know, I really don't know.
All
I
right.
haven't been confirmed
3
on
o'clock.
anything.
3:30, so that's.
3:30?
3 o'clock?
3 o'clock.
3:30.
All right, 23rd,
Don't
22nd.
don't confuse me now.
The 22nd at 3 o'clock?
Yep.
3 o'clock.
June.
Okay.
Go to June.
Okay, so we
And I don't know
have,
what time we'll get out of here.
But you
But I
know what,
can't-
we used to have some that did marathons.
Oh, yeah, we did marathons. Well, they've
We've
been
done
around,
them
they've been
many in the
around, they've been
past.
around a while.
we were younger then.
No, I've done teachers ones where we
we
stayed
say
a
3 or
long
3:30?
time.
Oh,
Three.
what was it? We did one that was real.
Norm,
Yeah,
remember being
11
at
after
Shasbury
11.
School at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning? Had to get the hell out of there.
We were
Well, we'll
young-
meet
we
with
were
you guys
younger
at
then.
3:30. We're gonna be here.
All
So we'll
night.
meet at 3.
Yeah, I did a couple
He was
of
just
those.
with Norm.
Yeah.
And Norm, what's the position if we don't get it done in June? Are we not meeting again until?
We could meet in July.
We've got to get this taken
I
care
would-
of because of the health
Okay, I'm
insurance.
glad.
I'll talk to my esteemed clients here, but I'm for trying to keep going and getting it done.
Us
Yeah.
too.
We need to.
As
We've
soon
got
as
to
soon
get
as we
this out.
can. I mean, if we find
Not
next
working
time
all
that we're just not anywhere, then we ought to just opt
Settle
for a
it.
mediator and see if we can get it done. You know, that
Yeah, I
tends to have that help.
Make a decision.
Yeah.
The one thing I've always been able to get an agreement from the board is, we don't want to spend the rest of our life doing this. All right?
Well, I'm sure we all got obligations for the summer and stuff.
I bet we do.
And, I mean, Mine's not
I'm
vacation,
working on
mine's an obligation.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, it's not.
I had a group once that said, you tell the school board we don't want to meet during the summer, and I said, I don't think they'll care very much. Maybe I was wrong. All right,
Like you, we just want to get this wrapped up.
yeah,
I think we're pretty.
I do.
Okay, I need a motion.
Okay?
Can we have a motion, according to VSA, what? We're going into caucus
So moved.
to talk
Second.
about the association's
246D,
proposals, and,
That premature public knowledge would be detrimental to the board's interest.
and we will, not be meeting back here. We'll resume negotiations on the 22nd at 3:30.
Sounds good.
June.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.